Welcome to Amish Roots, plain talk in a modern world. Thank you for joining me. I first heard the term hit from behind while watching hockey games. It meant that a player from one team hit an unsuspecting player on the opposite team while their back was turned. That is exactly what happened to me last week when I was in my car. I was stopped at a light in the city when the car in front of me made a right turn. I moved up to take their place. Suddenly, I was tossed forward in my seat. And at first, I was startled and didn't realize what had happened. But I soon figured out I was hit from behind by another vehicle. I put the car in park and exited my vehicle to see if there was any damage. The driver of the other car also stepped out and immediately began to apologize, saying sorry over and over, and was very clearly distraught. I took note that it was a young person, probably early 20s. As he continued to apologize, I gave him a hug and simply said, "Let's look at the damage." It appeared to me that neither vehicle had suffered anything but a scratch. He was driving a Volkswagen Beetle, and I had a Subaru Outback. I think maybe the nose of his car went under my back bumper. He asked me what he should do, and in my fogged mind, I recalled that I should probably get his insurance information. The young man suggested I could take a picture, so I retrieved my phone and snapped photos of his license plate and insurance card. Every few seconds, he began to apologize again. I calmly told him that it would be okay and said I would get my husband to check the car when I got home and we would go from there. We decided there was not much more we could do, and since the traffic was quite heavy, we thought it best to move on. He apologized one more time, and I told him to drive carefully, and we both drove away. Now, before you jump all over me and tell me that we should have called the police, that I should have also given him my information, and that I also should have got his license info, well, you're right. But when you have just been involved in an unexpected fender bender, you really aren't thinking clearly. For those of you who have ever witnessed me in a crisis situation, you might be surprised that I remained calm throughout the ordeal, and with good reason, as I usually panic. I'm not sure why I was able to hold it together this time. Maybe because the young man was so upset. Maybe because I was in shock. Maybe because I was wearing this t shirt. Let me show you. Or maybe because I know what it feels like to be on the other side of things. I have never forgotten that a few years ago I pulled into a parking spot at the grocery store behind another car. I braked and then proceeded to start getting out of the car, only to have it roll forward, bumping the vehicle ahead of me. I had forgotten to put the car in park. It was a boneheaded mistake on my part, and I felt bad. The gentleman, who was just about to get into his car when it happened, he immediately started yelling at me. I too apologized over and over, but he didn't care. The man was reacting with anger, which only made me more anxious. Since I had only nudged his car, there was no damage to either vehicle, so we decided everything was okay. He drove away after again angrily chastising me, and I entered the grocery store in a daze. I'm not sure if I got everything on my list or bought random items because I was so upset, but life went on. Another time, I parked beside someone. Oddly enough, it was again at a grocery store, not the same one. And as I was getting out of the car, the wind caught the door and swung it out further than I wanted. It hit the side mirror on the passenger side of the vehicle next to me. I took a quick look to see if I had bent anything, and that's when I noticed that someone was sitting inside. Not seeing any damage, I started walking toward the store. The driver rolled his window down and began to berate me for just walking away. I told him what happened and I said I had looked for damage and did not see any, and I apologized. The man scowled at me and said the least I could have done was acknowledge what I had done. I told him he was right, and that if he wanted to check it out himself while I was still there, I would wait. Well, seems he was too lazy to pull himself from the comfort of the vehicle and just grumbled that I should be more polite. Now, in my head, I said, and I'll start by taking lessons from you. But what I actually said was, okay. My husband and I were in Toronto one weekend many years ago and stopped at a light when a car rammed us from behind. When we assessed damage, we both had dents, but the vehicles were drivable. The lady that hit us was very apologetic and said her shoe had hindered her ability to brake properly. We exchanged insurance information and our damage was covered. I even got medical help because I had severe whiplash. I am pleased to tell you the situation was handled without angry words or accusations. So, back to my latest episode. Turns out my car was a little worse for wear after being hit. Some of the brackets holding the bumper in place are broken or bent. I decided to call the young man to see if he wanted to pay it out of pocket or if he wanted to go through insurance. Since the insurance was under his dad's name, I talked to the dad. He asked me to get an estimate, and when I told him the price, he blew a gasket. The dad then proceeded to lecture me like the whole thing was rigged. So I politely thanked him, and we are now letting insurance handle it. What is wrong with people? Just to note here, I talked with the dad twice, and not once did he ask if I was okay, even though I had asked about his son. So, what can we take away from these stories? Well, you know the saying, you hit like a girl? I think that maybe is the better option, as the men seem to overreact. Ah, I'm just teasing. But it is good to remember that sometimes we make dumb decisions and accidents do happen. In those cases, it is how we react that can make all the difference. Mach's gut, and we will see you next time on Amish Roots.